Welcome back, my friends. I am Victor Huerta, and on today's real estate show, I'm going to give you 11 home buyer tips to avoid when buying your house in 2020. That's right, 2020. Let's go. And for all the best home buyer and home seller tips, smash the subscribe button and click that bell to get notified when we drop our next real estate video. Tip number 1 to avoid when buying your house in 2020 is not knowing your monthly NUT. N-U-T. What I mean by that is when you're gonna buy a house, know what kind of payment you want. Okay, it's not about price point. It's about payment. Are you comfortable with the $1,200 payment, a $1,500 payment, $1,800, or $2,500? Because what we could do is we can work the math backwards and tell you exactly what kind of price a house you can buy. Know your monthly NUT. Tip number 2 to avoid when buying your house in 2020. I know we're in 2019, but you gotta look forward. Know the market. Are you in a buyer's market? Are you in a seller's market? Are you in a neutral market? Now, know the overall markets, but then dial it down to the subdivision, where you want to live at, or what city. Is it Chandler, Queen Creek, Mesa, Gilbert, Avondale, Phoenix, Laveen, Goodyear? All you got to break it down. You got to know the market in that targeted area. And how can you do that? Reach out to me. I'll give you all the stats, but you got to know the market, okay? Know the market that's going on in the city, in the valley, in the subdivision. Not on TV. I'm gonna give you a hint. Not on TV. Tip number 3 to avoid when buying your house in 2020. Don't listen to your friends or your family or the TV. Did you get that? Shh. Don't listen to your friends, your family, or the TV. Let me tell you this, guys. If you're buying a house or doing something positive, don't tell anybody. If you're reading a development book or going to a seminar, don't tell anybody, because the negativity starts to happen. It's not a good time to buy a house. The rates are no good. The price is overpriced. The housing market's gonna crash. You're gonna lose it. What happens if you lose your job? The house is too expensive, son. Why do you want such a big house? Why do you want to live all the way over there? Why do you want to live in the city? Negativity, man. It's like, oh my goodness. When I was leaving the corporate world, I did the mistake to tell my family and my friends, oh man, talk about scarcity, because they don't want to see you doing something positive. You may think that they'd be proud of you, but they don't want you to change. They want you to stay where you at. Don't go forward, stay where you at. They want you to stay. So, don't tell nobody. Just tell yourself. Tip number 4 that you, the first-time homebuyer, should avoid in 2020 is not shopping around for a great home inspector. Now, with me, I give you 3 options. I have dealt with some good home inspectors and some, I'm not even gonna say the word, really bad ones. So, I should give you 3 home inspectors when you're buying your house. You look at the Google reviews, the Yelp reviews, you can call them, you can pick their brain, you could look at the price, etc. Because they're all gonna have different prices. They're all gonna work totally different. But I found some great 3 good home inspectors. I give them to you. You do the research. You tell me which one to use. I set up the appointment because I don't want you to feel like you did not get a good home inspector. Excuse me, great home inspector. Tip number 5 that you, the first-time home buyer, should avoid in 2020 if you're buying a house in 2020, getting ready to buy a house in 2020, is knowing the home buying process. Just don't go buy a house and not know anything that's coming up front. Okay, I have extracted the entire Arizona purchase contract in video, text, and audio format that when we sit down and meet, you know what's coming ahead. This is you. This is the home. Before we get started, you're gonna know half to 3/4 of anything that's coming along before you buy your house in video, audio, and text. The reason why is because it makes it so much easier for you to understand. There's so much text in the purchase contract. There's so many steps. These videos are 2 to 5 minutes long. I sent it via text in our group text message, and you know what's coming up. It saves less hassle for phone calls. You didn't tell me this. I didn't tell you this. You didn't communicate with me. I have the entire process and I just give it to you up front for free. Even if you don't use me. It'll hurt, but I give it to you for free even if we don't get along, you don't like my style, but I guarantee you it's valuable information. Tip number 6 to avoid when you're buying a house in 2020 for the first time home buyer is not discussing with your lender your rate and lender credits. Lender credits. That is right, folks. You can get some lender credits, but it's gonna affect your rate. The more credits you get from the lender, your rate goes up. But you can play with it because it goes back to your monthly nut. Okay, if you don't have a whole lot of money for closing costs, you can get lender credits and increase your rate, and you can increase your payment to be at that monthly nut. It's all you can work the math, guys. You gotta work the math here. You gotta be comfortable on what you wanna accomplish, not what I wanna accomplish, and not what your lender wants to accomplish. You. It's all about you. Tip number 7 to avoid: know all your options for financing. Down payment assistance, FHA, conventional rates, down payment, etc. Make sure your lender explains every program, probably the 3 best programs you can use. Have them give you a synopsis of which program, where the interest rates are, down payment, the payment's gonna be, the monthly payment nut's gonna be. Know all your options. So when you're ready to move forward and buy your house, you got 3 options, just like 3 home inspectors, and you can choose one that's comfortable for you. Okay, so know all the financing options available to you with your credit score, the programs, because even if you're buying in a certain city, there might be a great program for you. Tip number 8 to avoid in 2020 when buying your house for the first time home buyer is know what your closing costs are. Remember, your down payment is separate from your closing costs. You might need both, but definitely know what your closing costs are gonna be, because you don't want to come in blind at the signing table and be like, my closing costs are like $7,000. I don't have $7,000. I can't close on this loan. Then the red alert goes on. Oh my goodness. So make sure you know what your closing costs are going to be for that house if you don't have any money for closing costs. It's very important, because if before you write the offer, you need to talk to your agent like, hey, closing costs for this house is going to be $7,000. I only got 5, so we need to ask the seller for 2 to cover the expenses, or if we could get the seller to cover a little bit more, that way I can have some more money in my pocket to buy washer dryer, I gotta fix some stuff, etc. So know your closing costs. Tip number 9, the first time home buyer mistakes to avoid in 2020 is know your down payment. Remember, down payment and closing costs are separate, okay? So know your down payment. You got to know your down payment, okay? If you're doing FHA, which is 3.5%, you can do conventional programs at 3%. If you're doing down payment assistance, etc. Just know what your down payment is, so you kind of have a figure to know before you get started in buying your home, and make sure you have that money saved up, because we need to show that you can close on the house. So you need the down payment. Know that nut, that monthly nut number 2. So there's 3 of them. Is your monthly nut, is your monthly payment, your closing cost nut, how much you need to bring for closing costs, and your down payment nut, how much money you need for down payment as well. Tip number 10 to avoid the first time home buyer mistakes is know where your credit is. It's very important, guys, because credit is in buckets, okay? You got your 500 to 580 rate. You got your 580 to maybe 600 rate. You got your 600 to 620 rate. You got your 620 to 680 rate. 680 to 720 rate, and then 720, you're at prime credit score. The rate is probably not going to change, but you got to know your credit score, because if you're in bucket B, just say if you're at a 680 credit score, and your lender pulls your credit and be like, hey, if you just like pay these couple items, I can get you to 720 and get you a better credit score. meaning that you'll get a better rate, you might want to hold back until you get that all situated to get the 4% rate instead of getting the 4.5%. Over the long period of time, you're going to be paying a lot of interest at 4.5%. If you shorten it up to 4%, good to go. So know your credit score. And then when your lender pulls it, ask them, is there anything that I can do to raise my credit score so I can get the better rate? And finally, tip number 11 that first-time homebuyers should avoid in 2020, if you're thinking about buying a house in 2020, coming into the new year, is, are you actually physically ready? Not physically, mentally ready. Because when you own a house, it's a pride of joy, okay? We own our house, okay? We own investment properties, but our own personal residence, I love it, man. I can throw my shoes anywhere. I can paint my house. I love my office. I mean, we just love our house. But it comes with a price tag, okay? Price tag. We had to get our house painted, okay? Because it was getting faded. So we didn't want to get the HOA to flag us here in Arizona. If the HOA sees your house and it's faded, they'll flag you. They'll give you 6 months to paint your house. That was like $3,500, okay? In Arizona, it's hot. You got to tune up your AC. You got to keep your AC tuned up or else you're going to be sweating, you know what, in your house. So that's an expense, okay? If things break in the house, garbage disposal, you have a plumbing leak, etc., it's maintenance, okay? You got yard maintenance. So, you know, you got to understand is like, are you ready to take on home ownership? Because you're going to need money for stuff. You're going to need money for the garage door. Something's going to happen when you buy a house. So just be ready and just be mindful and think about it like, okay, I am ready to take on the task of home ownership. Okay, so just be mindful of that. That is my tip number 11, which is probably the most important, is are you ready to be a homeowner? Okay, folks, so those are the 11 first-time home buyer tips to avoid in 2020. Don't forget to smash that subscribe button, click that bell to get notified when we drop the next real estate video. We're just bringing value and content for you, the home buyer and home seller. Once again, I am Victor Huerta, your local real estate agent here in the Valley. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to click, like, comment, share this with somebody who you think might need it. We would appreciate it. And we will see you on the next real estate video.